Mr. Bachrach. Next, we have Ms. Landsman. Ms. Landsman, you have 5 minutes. The floor is now yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thanks to all of the witnesses for being with us on this Thursday afternoon. I want to ask the canola growers. You talked a little bit about the labor shortage. At least I think I've got that right in terms of who mentioned it. And I want to know, and I know this isn't the Labor Committee, but I want to know if you can comment on Canada's capacity to train and recruit the right labor when it comes to supply chain jobs and supply chain expertise.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. I believe that actually probably be better for Mr. Lemaire. Again, canola, the labor shortages or the labor issues we alluded to are more around the union sort of dynamics with the rail. But I think Ron spoke to more labor issues and maybe on the foreign worker side. I can't speak to, just generally there's a problem filling positions across the economy, certainly as we return from COVID. But I might defer to Mr. Lemaire, as I believe it was his testimony.
Mr. Chair, I'm happy to quickly respond. The temporary foreign worker program, whether on farm is onto itself a separate program, but the temporary foreign worker program from post-farm gate, where we're actually asking the government to increase the cap from 10% to 30%, an emergency strategy to try and bring more workers in to fill some of those key roles that, could be everything from butchers to working in meat plants to functioning in warehouses and produce packing sheds, anything that doesn't have a direct link to the farm. That's one example of a quick change in solutions. I'd mentioned immigration as another key strategy and targeted structure, and the work currently underway with the government to streamline and support those Ukrainians that are coming to Canada and during the crisis, and trying to support them potentially with whatever resources they need, and potential employment is another option that our industry is very open, not only for those Ukrainian refugees coming to Canada, but others coming to the country as well.
I want to just change over to the issue of rail, and I know that we've had a number of issues over the past couple of years, and just recently. Can you talk a little bit about what the stopgap is? Is it the lack of infrastructure? Is it the lack of service? Is it in terms of getting products to market or getting products to the coasts?
Steve, do you want to?
Real quick, yes, I'm going to share that answer. One of the problems we have with the rail is definitely the quantity of equipment that is available. When we have seen in the past several years, the amount of ship going to Halifax port was increased incredibly. If the rails only have 500 pieces of equipment available in a day, and there's a capacity for 1,000 container, it's just backlogging continuously. And don't forget that there's at least 2, 3, 4 different companies involved, from the shipping line to the unloading to the subcontracting carrier that will move container sometimes directly from the port to rail, which is maybe only 1 or 2 kilometers, but sometimes it's not available straight on the port. And then there's a rail transportation services and a 4th company here locally that will actually take this container to your yard. A lot of people, most of these companies, they're all short labored. So you got lack of equipment. Everybody is backlogging on jobs. So every company that you deal with, every step will have a few days delay here, a few days delay. At the end, it add up a week to 10 days easily. But the availability of equipment is definitely a key feature.
Does anybody else want to opine on that? I think we're going down an interesting path here.
Sure, I could just make a quick comment. Certainly in our sector, Western Canadian grain sector, we've seen billions of dollars in investment from grain exporting and handling companies in country, with the redevelopment of all and the new building of the best technology for the grain collection. We've seen billions of dollars in the last, let's call it a decade, at port, specifically Vancouver, as far as getting the grain out of the export terminals into the boats. And it seemed, and then on both ends of that, there's contractual relationships with, daily charges that go both ways for contract breaches and time penalties. And we do give credit. I mean, the railways, they have a tough job. We have a tough geography to operate. We've got a long distance to move that grain from in country to the export position. But certainly the shippers of grain products in Western Canada would like to see some tightened relationships with the railways as far as contractually, and with the ability to have more robust reciprocal penalties put into that. That's been talked about around this committee and in various pieces of legislation over the last, let's call it, since 2009-ish. But that's still something we'd like to see as a sector, tightening up the.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pratt, and thank you very much, Ms. Landsman.